Hello students, in discussions from seed control order. So I hope I'm audible to you all and my screen is visible. So just give me a confirmation so that we can start. Yes, okay, fine. Thank you. So in the previous class, we have started our discussion about seed legislation, and mainly it's about seed quality control, right? So under seed quality control, we have discussed how the Seed Act was enacted and what are the different sections under Seed Act. So this is what we have discussed, and we also discussed why the seed control order came into play. So before going into the seed, before passing the seed control order, so I'll just list out the sections, rules, and the parts of the Seed Act. Okay. So the Seed Act 1966 has 25 sections, 11 parts, and 39 rules. So these 11 parts and 39 rules are by the Seed Rule 1968. So this is actually present in the Seed Rules document of 1968. The 11 parts, it has 11 parts and 39 rules overall. So when we talk of Seed Act 1966, it covers 25 sections, 11 parts, and 39 rules. So this is about Seed Act 1966, right? So in the Seed Act 1966, we have certain statutory bodies which are non-constitutional bodies that will actually regulate the seed industry in India. So what are the different bodies under Seed Act? Can you just name them? So first and foremost thing is, or first and foremost committee is Central Seed Committee. So this is a supreme committee which will actually regulate all the sections, all the regulations and provisions of different sections, parts, and the rules, right? So this is all under Central Seed Committee. So this Central Seed Committee is headed by a chairman who is directly appointed by the central government, and it has a board of members along with the chairman, and the term for these members is 2 years. That means the board members will change from time to time. It is the term period is 2 years for Central Seed Committee. And the Central Seed Committee, the main function of the Central Seed Committee is to advise the central and state government on all matters of seed. Whatever it is, if it is a matter of seed, it has a power to give its suggestions or advise the anything related to the seed. So this is the main function of Central Seed Committee. Okay, so it has its own members, committee members, and the head of this committee is the chairman, who is directly appointed by the central government. So this is the first one. So second committee or the second body under Seed Act is Central Seed Certification Board. So what is the main function of the certification board? If you can tell me, anyone? So this Central Seed Certification Board, its main function is to fix the seed standards. For what purpose? Seed standard for what purpose? It is for certification. So the certification standards are mainly fixed by the Central Seed Certification Board, and it will regulate or control state seed certifying agencies. So we have around 25 state seed certifying agency which will be regulated by Central Seed Certification Board. And again, its term period is 2 years, and it has its own chairman. So the chairman of the Central Seed Certification Board is Agriculture Commissioner. Okay. So this is about Central Seed Certification Board. Again, under this chairman, it has its own board of directors, like board of members, which includes directors of research, directors of agriculture, and also the representative of the different state governments. And the term period is 2 years. Okay. So just wait a minute. I just got a message. Yeah, sorry for the disturbance. So this is about Central Seed Certification Board, which has a main function to fix the seed standards for the certification, and the term period of this particular committee is for again 2 years. So what will be the next committee? What is the next committee under the Central Seed Act 1966? So after Central Seed Certification Board, it is State Seed Certifying Agency or Board. So there are a total of 25. Right? So it has two different branches. So one is governing body and second one is executive body. So what is the function of this governing body? It has a function to make the principles. The broad principles are done by this governing body, and the executive body has a function of regulating by regular inspections and seed certification and seed analysis by state seed testing laboratories by seed analyst. So this is under the executive wing or executive body. Okay, so for this certification board, again the state government, now it is under the state government, not under the central government directly. It is under the state government, which will form a committee of members for this state seed certifying agency or the board, and term period is for 3 years. Okay, so this is about state seed certifying agencies. So next, what are the other committees or the bodies? So other most important organization or the body is Central Seed Testing Laboratories. So how many Central Seed Testing Laboratories are there in India? Okay, how many CSCB? Okay, CSCB is the sole organization from which is directly controlled by the central government, okay, under the Seed Act 1966. Just like Central Seed Committee, it is a single institute or single organization for the complete India. Clear? So how many Central Seed Testing Laboratories are there in India at present? Yes, anyone? You have to speak out. If you have to remember the things, then you have to express them. Like you should be able to remember the things that you have already read and just convey this and involve in the group discussions. Okay. If I'm just asking anything, just have that gut to unmute yourself and answer me. There are no worries if you just answer me wrongly. Okay. You will learn from your mistakes. At least tell me, like, if you know any of the Central Seed Testing Laboratories and its location. So there are total of 2 Central Seed Testing Laboratories. One is located at Varanasi and second one is Nagpur. Yes, very good, Vikas. It is at Nagpur, and one is at Varanasi and one is at Nagpur. So what is the name of the institute that is located in the Varanasi? It is National Seed Research and Training Center. So one seed testing Central Seed Testing Laboratory is present in this organization, which is NSRTC. Okay, National Seed Research and Training Center. And the second one, Nagpur, it is CICR, Central Institute of Cotton Research. So this mainly takes care of hybrid cotton, testing of hybrid cotton, that is in the Nagpur, and the second one is Varanasi. It takes the testing of all type of seeds for all crops. So earlier, the Central Seed Testing Laboratory was established in the New Delhi, and it was in 1960. So this was shifted to NSRTC in the year. Can you just tell me what is the year? In which year it was shifted to NSRTC, CSTL? So it was in 2007. So it was shifted to NSRTC, which is located in Varanasi, that is in UP. So this is about Central Seed Testing Laboratory. So do we have Mausam here? Okay. Okay, she's not there. So she asked me about referee testing in one of the previous class, or in the WhatsApp. She asked me about the referee testing. What do you understand, or what do you mean by referee testing? So basically, referee testing is nothing but a testing that is carried out by central seed testing laboratory from the samples collected by different state seed testing laboratories. So we have state seed testing laboratories in all the states. Like all states has their own seed testing laboratories. So these central seed testing laboratories will actually regulate the quality of the seed testing or the seed testing activities in the different states seed testing laboratories. So how it will regulate, because by the act of referee testing, which is a 5% of samples. So this particular process is called as referee testing. So what does this mean is, so every year all the seed testing laboratories, all the state seed testing laboratories should send their 5% of the samples to the central seed testing laboratories along with the results. So this central seed testing laboratory will collect this 5% samples and it will do the seed testing, and it will just compare the results of the state seed testing laboratories and its results, like central seed testing laboratories. So it will use the tolerance tables. So tolerance table is nothing but if the values are overlapping or if the values are in certain range, whether we have to accept it or reject it, it is based on the tolerance tables. For example, the state seed testing laboratories has mentioned that there is a 96% germination, for example. So but in from when the CSL has checked it, it is getting 94%. So whether it has to accept that or it has to accept or approve that this state seed testing laboratory has done a correct testing or not, it is based on the tolerance table. This is what tolerance table means. So we have tolerance tables for all the different testing. For example, germination testing, moisture testing, genetic purity, physical purity, all type of testing has some tolerance table which is already mentioned in the book. So just they will compare this, see this tolerance table, and they will just decide whether to approve or reject these samples. So this is how the central seed testing laboratory will regulate the functioning of the state seed testing laboratories. And this is called as referee testing, which is conducted for 5% of samples every year from each seed testing laboratories. Is that clear? So this is basically to evaluate the accuracy of state seed testing laboratories, because as we all know, there should be uniformity in the seed testing between the different seed testing laboratories, right? So for that sake, they should maintain some accuracy in their results. The results they are publishing and giving into the certifying seed certification officer, there should be some uniformity and accuracy. In order to maintain that accuracy from time to time, they will do this referee testing. This is how it is. Is that clear? If it is clear, please just give me a confirmation so that I can move forward. So what are the 4 different organizations that I have talked about, or the bodies that I have talked about? It's Central Seed Committee, Central Seed Certification Board, and Central Seed Testing Laboratory, and State Seed Testing Laboratories. Right? So, and also like I talked about Central Seed Certification Board. Yeah. So now I didn't tell you about the state seed. It is already taught in the central seed testing laboratories that it is under the control of central seed testing laboratory. These are the state seed testing laboratories which are present in all the states, so which will have certain function to play in the seed certification. Why? Because once the certification process is going on, the generation system, which is breeder seed to foundation seed to certified seeds, once the certified seeds are produced, these certified seeds, the samples from the certified seed production will be directly sent to the state seed certifying, like state seed testing laboratories, where the seed analyst will test these seeds and give the results to the state seed certifying officer, seed certification officer. So based on these results, he will give the tag for the certified seed, which is in azure blue color. So we will discuss in detail about the certification process once we start the seed certification, but this is just for your knowledge that under main function of the seed testing laboratory is, one is certification. What is the other function? Is the sampling of this certification or the testing of the certification is the only function of this state seed certifying or state seed testing laboratories, or it has any other function? So if I just talk about the functions of seed testing laboratories, only testing the certification samples, or is there any other functions of this seed testing laboratories? So yesterday I talked about seed control order, seed inspectors, where seed inspector can randomly go into the market where the seeds are sold, and he can take the samples. If he is in doubt that the quality of the seeds are not maintained, so this sample is again sent to the seed testing laboratories only, right? So both the certification samples and these samples that are collected from the market, both are sent to the same lab, right? This is nothing but the inspection. So I'm just talking about two different samples. So there are three different samples based on the collection. For example, it is official sample, certification sample, and service sample. So can anyone tell me the difference between the three samples: official sample, certification sample, and service sample? So official sample is given by state seed or a seed certification officer during the certified seed production. So once the harvest has been done of the certified seed production, you will just send the samples. So those samples which are collected by seed certifying or seed certifying officer, these samples are called as official sample. Sorry, I just told it in a reverse manner. So this is called as certification sample, which are collected by seed certification officer. The official sample is the one which is collected by seed inspector during the inspection in the market. So this is called as official sample, and this is from the seed inspectors who randomly go and investigate the seeds, and they just take the samples from the dealer and they present it to laboratories. Those type of samples are called as official samples. The last one is service sample. If in case farmer themselves want to test their seeds, so then they can voluntarily send the samples to the laboratories. So those type of samples are called as service samples. So these are the three categories of the samples sent to seed testing laboratories. I hope it is clear. Yes, actually you have to give me a confirmation from time to time so that I will have that confidence to move forward. Okay, so I just talked about the 5 different bodies. So we have also the affiliate authority. Why this affiliate authority is necessary? See, in case while there is certain sets of rules and regulations that are in place, so whether either the seed inspector or the seed certification officer, whether they will follow these rules and regulations, whether they are uh, following these rules and regulation, or they are favoring these farmers, or they are just favoring the seed production units without following the rules and regulations. It is also possible, right? When they have the complete power to just take the samples from the farmers or the seed dealers and supply it to the seed testing laboratory, so anything can happen, right? Misrepresentation can also happen during this complete process. So there is a appellate authority. If in case is if any illegal activities has been done, or if the farmer is not okay, for example, if the certified seed production is taken by certain farmer in his field, so the state seed certification officer will come and just inspect his field, and he will wrongly reject this field, saying that it is not meeting standards, but the farmer himself is not agreeing with the decision taken by this seed certification officer. In that case, this farmer can go and reach this affiliate authority, where it is just a type of a court where they will decide the issue. This is how it is. So it will be useful in two main cases, where it can be like this is affiliate authority is generally appointed by the state government, which will generally look into the grievances of the seed producers against the seed certification agency. This is the first point which I told you. And the second one, so it will also look into the seed traders who are actually trading the seeds in the market. Even sometimes it can also happen that seed inspector can forcefully intentionally come and take the samples from the dealers, and he might pose some problem to certain dealers or traders. So in order to avoid all these things, there is an affiliate authority which is appointed by the state government, which will look after all these issues. If there is any illegal things that are going on, they can just go and inform these affiliate authorities. Okay, so this is about the affiliate authority. So for certification of the seeds, there are certain standards that are prescribed by the government. So that these standards should be followed by seed producers. While the certified seed production is taken by any farmer or any seed producer, he should follow some certain standards. These standards are already prescribed, and this is by central government. This is prescribed by the central government in consultation with Central Seed Committee and Central Seed Certification Board. So these standards are published in a book called as Blue Book. Have you heard about this Blue Book, which is called as IMSCS? So what is the full form of IMSCS? IMSCS is Indian Minimum Seed Standard Seed Certification Standards. So this is the full form of Indian, like IMSCS. So Indian Minimum Seed Certification Standards, which is also called as Blue Book, which is published by CSE and which is published by central government in consultation with Central Seed Certification Board and Central Seed Committee. So this Blue Book consists of all the crops which are under certification and standards for all the crops. So what are the different standards? So standards are nothing but genetic purity, physical purity, germination percentage, and percentage of disease infection that is allowed, and designated disease of different crops, and also the number of types that can be allowed in the field. So all these are the certain standards which have some prescribed values for specific crops, which should be followed by seed producer, that is certified seed producer. So this is about the standards. So I'll just show you the IMSCS Blue Book. So this is how it looks like. So this is a manual which is freely available in case of website in the web. So this is called as Indian Minimum Seed Standard Seed Certification Standards, which is published by Central Seed Certification Board. So this is the one, and the contributors is my guide by MSA Guide. He is also a contributor for this Indian Minimum Seed Standard Certification Standards, and he was my MSc guide in this IRA. Okay, so this contains all the crops. For example, these are the crops involved, like starting with the varieties, hybrids, parental lines. For each and every crop, there are same standards, but the values for these standards varies from crop to crop. So I will just show you the one standard for one crop. So starting, there are certain general guidance and the introduction. We'll just directly skip into certain crops. Yeah. So as you can see here, it started with the barley. From barley, so you can see the field standards. So field standards starts with the isolation distance. These are the prescribed distance that are to be followed from the seed producer. So then there are some specific requirements which are off types. There is the off types percentage that are allowed. If during the field inspection, if the off types are more than this prescribed percentage, then it will be liable for rejection. Complete certification field will be liable for rejection. So this is the main reference by how the certification officer will decide whether to reject the field or accept the field. So again, we have seed standards. Those were all field standards. Now we have a seed standards where it is pure seed percentage, inert matter, other crop seed, other distinguishable varieties, which is ODV, and wheat seed maximum, which is permitted, germination percentage, which is minimum required, and moisture content, which is maximum, which should be there is a maximum limit for this moisture content, and if it is vapor proof, there is a separate standard for it. So these are all the seed standards that are to be followed, and it is again crop specific. I hope at least you got some basic idea. Is it clear? This is all regarding the Central Seed Certification Board, which will publish Blue Book, which is also called as IMSCS, Indian Minimum Seed Certification Standards. in consultation with both Central Seed Committee and Central Seed Certification Board. And this is mainly under the control of central government. So now I will just talk about the important points under the Seed Act 1966, which can be directly asked in your exam. So till now it was just like a story mode, which I have explained all the different bodies and their functions. Now I'll just focus on the important points that are very much necessary for your exam. First thing is, the notified seeds should be always sold in the containers only. Okay, they should be always sold in the containers. When the seeds are notified, they should be sold in the containers. This is in accordance with Seed Act 1966. So next, notified varieties. So first one I told you, the second one. So the notified varieties, whether they are certified or non-certified, so both should have labels, that is compulsory labeling. So labeling is compulsory for both certified and non-certified if they are notified. So this is the important point of Seed Act 1966. And the compulsory labeling should be there, and also they should maintain the minimum prescribed standards, or they should meet the minimum prescribed standards as prescribed by Blue Book. The third one, so the labeling of the containers, if they are doing their self-labeling without certifying their seeds, labeling of the containers should contain certain standards or certain parameters, which are, like I have mentioned here. Let's just scroll down. I just came too low. Yeah. So these are the standards, or these are the parameters which should be mentioned in the label when the seed is notified. So it is the kind, the variety name, lot number, date of test, the inert matter percentage, pure seed percentage, other crop seeds, wheat seeds, germination, net contents, and the seller name who is selling the seeds. And if it is treated, they should mention these states. I hope, like I also said this in the previous class, right? And person or the seed dealer, whosoever is selling the seed in the market, he should maintain the record for at least 3 years. The person who is selling the varieties of notified kind or varieties, or the seeds of notified kind and varieties, it should maintain the record for at least 3 years. And the seed sample, after the sale of all the seed, he should at least maintain certain sample for at least 1 year. Certain percentage of the seed should be maintained by him or stored by him for at least 1 year after the entire lot is disposed. Okay, and next it is seed inspector and analyst. They are appointed by state government. These type of questions might be directly asked in the exam, so make sure to remember this. And the seed inspector, while they are exercising their powers, they should follow certain manual which is called as Handbook of Seed Inspector. So this handbook is again published by Central Seed Committee with National Seed Corporation. Jointly, they will give they will publish this Handbook of Seed Inspector, which the seed inspector should follow. These are the guidelines for the seed inspectors. And next, this is important to be remembered, where when we talk of certification, the Maharashtra was the first state to establish official seed certifying agency, and it was during 1970 under the Department of Agriculture. And Karnataka was the first state to establish the state certifying agency as a complete autonomous body in 1974. So what do you mean by autonomous body? This particular agency is solely involved or solely functions as certifying agency. It has no other work to do. Like no other work means like seed production. It is not involved in the seed production or variety development or seed marketing. So it is not involved. This particular organization is not involved in any other activities. It only looks after the certification of the certified seeds. So this was for the first time in the Karnataka. It was in 1974. So I have already told you about the Blue Book. So the Blue Book was for the first time published in 1988. It was by Tunwar and Singh, and it was again revised in 2013. So the previous document which I showed you, it was in 2013, which was published. Till now, the same document is there. It has not been revised yet. So we are still following the same document, which was published in 2013. And next, state seed certifying agencies were published on the recommendation of Central Seed Committee under Society Act 1860 in 1972. So these are all the things that you should remember. I hope like you will read it by yourself. There is no need to again read them. So I will just tell you about the conditions for going for different generation system. So as you all know that like we have breeder seed, foundation seed, and certified seed. So you are only seeing the 3 generation gap here. Like it is completely consist of 3 generation, but there are certain conditions where you can go beyond the 3 generation. So if you take into consideration of this self-pollinated apomictic or the vegetative propagated species, after the breeder seed production, you can also go for 3 generation, not including the breeder seed. Excluding the breeder seed generation, you can go for three. Sorry, you can go for up to 3 generation or 3 multiplication. So that is that can be consist of foundation seed 1, foundation seed 2, and certified seed, or foundation seed, certified seed 1, and certified seed 2. So this is very specific to self-pollinated, apomictic, and vegetative propagated crops. So when it is about the cross-pollinated and often cross-pollinated, again it is only 2 generation. That is, you can go to the foundation seed next to certified seed. There is no 1 and 2 in case of cross-pollinated and inbreed lines. Inbreed lines cross-pollinated and often cross-pollinated, and also with hybrids. If you're going for hybrid, cross-pollinated, inbreed lines. Inbreed lines itself means the hybrid. That is why I have not mentioned it. So this is about the cross-pollinated one. Next, if the inbreed lines which are developed, if they are using the CHA method, that is chemical hybridizing agents, if the chemical hybridizing agents are used in the during the production of these inbreed lines, for those lines these IMSES standards are not applied, because it cannot comply with the standards, since the CHA is very like it is not that stable that it will easily revert itself. So that is the reason these standards are not applied for the inbreed lines which are developed the CHA. So what I left, okay. And we have also a provision of releasing the substandard seed. For example, the certain farmer has taken a certified seed production, right? So but he is not meeting the standards as prescribed by the blue book for any parameter you take. Is not with the standards, or it is not satisfying the standards published by blue book. So in this case, if the seed shortage is more, or the shortage of seeds is more, and it is very crucial that this certified seed should come into the market. So this generally happens in case of natural calamities or shortage of seeds, right? So at that case, even if they are not in accordance with the standards, they can be released as substandard seeds. So and the condition is during the shortage of seeds or natural calamities. So this is about substandard seed. So we will give a tag of authenticated breeder. So this particular tagline is given by this designation is given by the ICAR itself. Okay, so we'll get, if you just read the document of Seed Act 1966, you will get to know all these things, but this is quite not necessary for you for JRF. So at least remember these important points which I have just picked up myself, and I have just made a document. And also the area which is approved by the certification by the individual, it cannot be transferred without the approval of state certifying agency. It can be transferred only with the approval. This is what it means. Okay, without the approval, without the permission, one cannot transfer the field or the area which is under certification from one person to another. Clear? The things which I have discussed till now, they are clear? If you are getting any doubts, you can ask me now. Okay, so yesterday I talked about Seed Control Order 1983, but I didn't mention first and foremost important thing under the foremost provision of this seed control order. So if anyone has noticed it, yeah, you asked me about Central Seed Certification Board, right? Earlier I told you that there is only one Central Seed Certification Board, just like Central Seed Committee. It is a sole organization which is directly controlled by central government under Seed Act 1966, under which we will have State Seed Certification Agency, which are of total 25. I also addressed this before, but I think like you have not listened to it. There might be a network issue. Clear now? Okay, fine. So I was talking about Seed Control Order 1983. I just forgot to tell you first and foremost important provision of this particular order. Can you just tell me, like, if you just remember, or can you just tell me what is it? Yes, non-notified seeds are discussed in seed control order, but I forgot to mention one important provision of it. So what is it? It's about Essential Commodities Act 1955. So there was a Essential Commodities Act 1955 where certain class of products were put under the essential commodities. When the certain products are classic or designated as essential commodity, what is the first and foremost restriction on it? So the restriction is it cannot be stored, right? So this is a major restrictions of this essential commodity if certain products come under this Essential Commodities Act. So in 1983, seeds were brought under this Essentially Commodities Act or essential commodities. Why the seeds were bought under essential commodities? Why? Because in the market there can be the creation of artificial demand where the certain producer can store his seeds for long term, and only in the scarcity of seed he can just sell it for higher price. So in order to avoid this particular issue or to this tackle this issue, this was designated or categorized under essential commodities, which is under Essential Commodities Act 1955. Clear? So this is also important provision of Seed Control Order 1983. So how many rules are there in this Seed Control Order? There are a total of 18 rules. See, if you just go to the seed.net, or if you just directly search Seed Act 1966, Seed Control Order 1983, you will get a full complete document when it was drafted. So if you are interested, you can just go through all these things. For exam, like they might ask you some simple questions which are very direct. You only need to remember it, you know, to analyze anything. But if you are interested, you can just read them anytime if you get some free time. Okay. Rest of the things which are very much required for the exam, I'm just covering it. But if you want to read something extra and want to know more, you can read them by yourself. So this was for Seed Control Order 1983. Okay. So there is one more provision in case of Seed Act 1966, which is about the import and export. So the import and export can be done of the seeds if only if they are following the minimum limits of germination and purity. So this is mentioned under Seed Act 1966. So I will just give you an overview of the earlier seed like policies that were in place for the import and export, and mainly import, and the current policies for the import and current organization which is taking care of the import of seeds. So it all started with the import policy. I don't know, the oral explanation is quite good, better, or the written is better. But for now, like I will just prefer the oral explanation. Why? Because if I just keep on writing, though my handwriting is not even good and I cannot write it very fastly. Okay. So just listen to me very carefully. So it all started with the import policy in the 19th century, where this import policy, which was in place from April 1988 to March 1991, under this import policy, there were severe restrictions of importing and exporting the commodities. Only the selected commodities were allowed to export or import, and the seeds were not. There was a stringent control of export or import of the seeds at that time in the 19th century, and all the import and export was controlled by this import policy earlier in the 19th century. After that, there was a order called as fruits plant, like PFS, plants, fruits and seed order 1984. So under all the import and export was transferred to this particular order, which is fruits, like plants, fruits and seeds order 1984. So under this order, it was under the act which is called as DIPACT, Destructive Insecticides and Pest Act. It was in 1914. So under this act, the order was passed, which was plants, fruits and seeds order It was in the year 1984, where the import license was made compulsory. If any person or any organization is willing to import any kind of materials, so they should have this import license with them. So this was a provision that was given in 1984 through the Plants, Fruits and Seeds Order. So there was again the revision in this Plant, Fruits and Seeds Order in the 1989. There was a revision of this Plant, Fruits PFS order, where one more major important thing or certificate was made compulsory, which is phytosanitary certificate. Along with the import license, phytosanitary certificate was made compulsory. If, for example, between the two countries, if one country is exporting some materials to the other countries, the exporting country should give the phytosanitary certificate to the importing country, so that only after this phytosanitary certificate is provided, the importer country will accept or allow the importer or the seed dealer or any of the organization to import the materials. So this is about phytosanitary certificate. See, this phytosanitary certificate is not produced by or provided by the import country. It is provided by the export country. The country which is exporting the materials, it has to provide the phytosanitary certificate. So this was made compulsory in 1989. This was just a revision for PFS order. So later in the 2003, this is because of one major agreement which is called as SPS agreement. So SPS generally means that Sanitary and Phytosanitary Agreement, which was made by the WTO with its member organizations. So what happened is, like, WTO called for a conference and made an agreement with all its members, which the agreement named as Sanitary and Phytosanitary Agreement, in which it mentions that all the nations, all the member countries should take some measures to protect the humans, animals and plant health based on certain scientific principles without any barrier to the trade. So every country should have their own legislations or own act or the order or the policies which will regulate or protect the human, animal and plant health based on the scientific principles. And again, all these principles should not intervene the trade, like overall trade of the country. So this is what the WTO said. So based on this agreement or based on this suggestion, the India made plant quarantine order in 2003. So it was plant quarantine order in 2003 based on the recommendation of WTO in accordance with SPS agreement. SPS means Sanitary and Phytosanitary Agreement. Okay. And also WTO said one more thing, and it suggested to follow the guidelines of IPAC. So how many of you heard about the IPAC? IPAC is International Plant Protection Convention. So this is located at the headquarters of FAO. FAO, I hope you all know it, Food and Agriculture Organization, and this headquarters is located in Rome, Italy. These are the simple and the straightforward questions that can be asked in the exam. So make sure to remember the different organizations that will come in the syllabus. So this is IPAC, which is International Plant Protection Convention. The headquarters, it is in the headquarters of FAO, which is in Rome, Italy. And the plant quarantine order was passed in the India in 2003 based on the guidelines provided by the WTO in accordance with SPS agreement. Okay. So what are the features of this plant quarantine order? So the plant quarantine order, as we have seen that previously in the PFS order, we have the phytosanitary certificate. So, and also the import license. So this plant quarantine order gave the strict measures or the measures for like phytosanitary measures, and the rules and regulations were framed in the plant quarantine order. Or it basically specifies the phytosanitary measures to be taken for the import of the plant and plant materials, and also it established the National Plant Quarantine Service to monitor and control the entry of plant material, and also it provides the procedures for the detention or destructions of pest infested materials. When the imported materials are already pest infested, it provides the guidelines to how to detain or how to destruct this type of materials. So all type of these measures are given under the plant quarantine order. So you need not to worry about all these things, but at least remember it was in 2003 under the plant quarantine order is under 2003 by the guidance of WTO accordance with SPS agreement. And it is the main order which regulate the import and export of the materials in India, which are plant-based materials, which includes seeds. Okay, we are not talking about all the products. We are only concentrating now on plant-related materials or plant materials. Okay, so earlier the import policy which I have explained, it is for all the products, but later the different fields got their different policies or order, and now we are only discussing about the agriculture and the plant-based products or plant materials. Okay, so after this PFS order, so this was just an order. There was no proper organization to regulate or the control the activities of this quarantine. So can you just name the organization for quarantine which was established much later, or under the PFS or under the planned quarantine order 2003? Can you name the apex body which was established under planned quarantine order 2003, which is located in Faridabad? Have you heard about DPPQ? Directorate of Plant Protection, Quarantine and Storage, QS. So this is located in Faridabad, and at present all type of plant-based materials like veg cuttings, saplings, seeds, and other type of plant materials, all type of materials import is mainly regulated by this particular organization, which is Directorate of Plant Protection, Quarantine and Storage. This was established under the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. So what is the main mandate of this DPPQS? It is having the import permit. So every product should have the import permit. Whatever product we are wanting to import, it should have the import permit, which is provided by the authority, Plant Protection Authority, and we have phytosanitary certificate. So these are the two important mandates which are very much required for import of any type of seed materials. This is again in the direct control of DPPQS. Okay, so there are three main categories of seed materials that can be imported, which are bulk. I'll just directly show you here. It will consume more time. Yes. So there are three different categories of the materials that can be imported. So I have seen this question might be in SRF or JRF. In one of the paper, it has been asked. So bulk consignments of the grains and pulses, the consumption. So this is directly imported, and this is under the control of plant quarantine stations under DPPQS, and also the bulk consignments of seeds, planting materials for sowing, for direct sowing or planting for the commercial purpose, it is under DPPQS. But if the samples are for germplasm or in the small quantities or for research purpose, and this is under the control of NBPGR. So where this NBPGR is located? Yes, it is in Delhi, and it is in adjacent to our institute only, IARI. Okay, so this is NBPGR is located in Delhi, which will have the direct control over the samples of germination, samples for not germination, germplasm in small quantities for research purpose. Okay, so just remember these three different categories and who has authority to import them. Okay, fine. So this is a complete overview of import policies. No matter how many books you read and no matter how many sources you have gone through, you don't find this clear-cut hierarchy of the different events or different orders that has been passed. So I took around 3-4 days of time to just make it in a continuous form from the date to date or from year to year, just to explain it so that you can understand it better. So it all started with the import policy. After import policy, we have plant, fruits and seeds order. Again, there was a revision where they included the phytosanitary certificate, and after that we got our own order, which is plant quarantine order 2003, along with the guidance of this WTO or with the suggestions of WTO. And after that, we have a apex body, which is Directorate of Plant Protection, Quarantine and Storage, which is located in Faridabad, which will look after into the matters of import and export of the plant materials. So I have till now explained you import, like we'll started with Seed Act, Seed Control Order, and the import. So these are the three major important things we have discussed till now. Okay. So under Seed Control Order, So there are certain amendments that you should take care of. It has been amended 3 different times, and the latest amendment, which is not present in the book, that I will explain you. Okay. See, in the books they have mentioned that seed dealership license is for 3 years, but it was revised in 2019 where it was made for 5 years, or it was extended for 5 years. So once the seed dealership gets the license, the validity of the license is not for 3 years. Just remember, it is for 5 years for now. So this has not been updated in any of the books that you read, because you are not reading any latest edition. So make sure to remember this. There are high chances that they will ask this question in the exam. Okay. So IELTS, I have mentioned it has bought under Essential Commodities Act, compulsory licensing, and also fourth one is seed dealership license. So these are the 4 important mandates of seed control order. So I also mentioned some of the important points here. So just make sure to read them once. Okay. So so that we can directly shift into new policy on seed development. So once after the seed control order, so just since it is again related to the import, since the materials that were available in India were very limited, so the farmers or the seed producers were not have the didn't have the direct access to the foreign materials. So seeing this particular lacuna, government came up with the new policy, which is called as new policy on seed development, where it gave the special emphasis for the import of the high quality seeds. See, if you just see broadly, importing the any material is not an easy task. It will have a lot of charges that are associated with it, and also there are a lot of guidelines that we should follow. So for specifically for the seeds, these guidelines and these particular charges or rates have been simplified, or they are lessened, so that they are, in this case, government has encouraged the seed producers or the farmers to import the quality materials from the foreign, so that there will be a inherent development of the country in the seed industries from over the period of time. So this is why this seed policy, like new policy on seed development, came into play, and it was in 16 September 1988. So the special emphasis, again, it was for the import of high quality seeds and the time bound program, and this is again overlapping. This information is again overlapping with the quarantine facilities which I have discussed earlier, and also the effective implementation of the procedures for the quarantine and the post entry quarantine. There were strict measures and the procedures that has been given from this new policy on seed development, which the organizations will follow during the quarantine and post entry quarantine of the seed materials. Okay. And also the emphasis was given to give the incentives to encourage the domestic seed industry, which I said earlier. Okay. And under this policy, mainly it was only the vegetables, flowers, and ornamental plants that were allowed to import. Since these are the high value crops or the high value materials, these were allowed to import, since it will have a direct contribution to the GDP. So this is why they are given the emphasis for the import of these materials. So again, I just mentioned this exim policy, which was in 2002 to 2007. This also, whatever I have just covered till now, like told till now, this is same. Okay, they are just given in the text form, and they are different provisions and all, but you need not to worry about all these things. So again, after this new policy and seed development, next we got a national seed policy. This is again the upgradation of this new policy on seed development, where more relaxation was given for the import. And they extended the import to the core cereals, pulses, oilseeds for up to 2 years. Along with the import of the materials, the parental lines and breeder seeds were also allowed to import, so that from the next year they can like farmers or the seed producers from India can develop their own lines. Like they can develop their own seeds by using these parental lines or the breeder seeds. And the thrust areas under this national seed policies are the variety development, plant variety protection, seed production, quality assurance, and all these things. Just go through them once. Okay. So this is for national seed policy. We just started with 1966 and covered 1988, and also talked about the national seed project, which covered in three different phases, which led to the establishment of state seed certifying agencies or state seed corporations. Next, we discussed about new policy and seed development. Now I have talked about national seed policy, which came in 2002. Okay. So next we have Seed Bill 2004. So this seed bill was brought into the parliament in 2004, but this was not yet passed. Again, it was, I told you, it was in 2010 and 2019. They are also not passed. So there are several updates or the amendments that were done to the seed bill, but still there are several issues that has to be tackled. That is why it is not yet passed by the parliament. So if you just want to talk about the silent or important features of the seed bill, how it is different from Seed Act, like what are the different or the new provisions under the Seed Act, it's mainly the registrations. Earlier, under the Seed Act 1966, the notification is completely voluntary. There is no compulsion that every variety that are in market are to be notified. But according to the seed bill, there is a mandate that every variety that is sold as a seeds or a variety or sold as a seeds, they should be registered under the government, or that is the registration of the kind and varieties of the seed. So this is the first and foremost important thing. And the compensation. So in case of compensation, the compensation was very much less in under the Seed Act 1966. So the compensation rates have been increased in the seed bill. Okay, and also there was no registration of the seed producers as such and seed processing units. The seed producers, only the seed dealers were allowed to give the license under the seed control order, but no seed processing units were registered. So the registering of seed producers and processing were involved or included. Okay, and also seed dealers should be registered. This is also not covered in the Seed Act 1966. So it is covered in seed bill, and the seed bill is bought into the government to replace Seed Act 1966. Why? Because so when the Seed Act was formulated, that was accordance with the conditions that were prevailing at that time. Since there was lot of development or lot of upgradation and improvements, and the current status of the seed industry is very much different from what it was in 19th century, there is a need of changing the legislation or bringing some amendments to the legislation. For this particular sake, this seed bill was formed and it was proposed in the parliament. Okay, and the main emphasis was given for the registration, compensation, and also registration of processing units. So all the other things are minor, you need not worry about it. And also the offenses and punishment under the Seed Act, if there is any offense is there any offense that has been convicted in case of Seed Act, the punishment or the duration of the punishment in case of fee or the imprisonment was very less. So that has been enhanced in case of Seed Bill 2004. So these are the certain things that you should remember. Okay. Okay. So next week I'll discuss about the variety release. So I'm already exhausted now. We can discuss it in the tomorrow's class. I hope like whatever I have discussed in today's session is very much clear to you all. I know like you may be not able to remember all the things. You might require some time to go through all these notes and just revise them, but at least you have understood like whatever things I have explained. If you have understood it, I just need everyone's reply once. Just reply, just text me text me whether you have understood the things which I have explained till now or not. If you have any specific problem, if you feel like I'm just going too fast, or if I want to change my teaching method, or if there is any specific changes that you are expecting, you are always welcome. You can just text me here, or you can just directly text me on the WhatsApp. Anything is fine. There are around 16 students right now. So I need everyone confirmations whether you are able to understand the things or not. Just waiting for everyone's reply. You might feel like I'm just going a little deeper, but if you just analyze this 2022 paper, you might see the questions that are not familiar to you. So that is because every year the difficulty level is increasing. It's not like in the previous year they have asked some difficult questions in CTech. They will also follow the same pattern. The pattern might change, but you cannot take the risk. So that is why I just trying to make the complicated things very simple for you. So make sure to take a use of it. Okay. Okay, fine. Like I won't drag it much. So we'll continue in the next class, where in the next class we'll start our discussion about how the varieties are released in India and what is the guidelines and the procedures that are to be followed for variety release, notification, and also the certification. Once we go through this variety release, next and foremost important thing is variety protection. If certain breeder is releasing the variety, he should be given some exclusive rights to protect his own variety. So we will also talk on the variety protection, which we have a own legislation, which is protection of plant varieties and farmers' rights. Okay, so by the end of that, we will be finishing seed legislation for quality control. Next, we can go through the seed production. Actually, I thought that it will be completing by the 1 week. I think it will take more than 1 week. Anyhow, you people still have time, since the date has been not announced. So make sure to attend these live classes and take a full benefit out of it. And also the students who are not registered to this course, like there is no provision that I can give you the direct notes to you all. So if since you still have at least 2 months of time, you can also consider subscribing our course or just taking our master course, where you will get a complete and detailed notes of all the subjects, along with the prepared short materials, previous year discussions, and also doubt clearing sessions in between. So everything, it's a fully packed version which you can utilize it and also cover it or digest it within that 1 or 2 months. So if you are wanting to take it, you can just offer this. Think of taking this particular seed science and technology course, which is given separately, or you can either buy the complete master course. Fine. So the students who have been registered, like I will upload this document tomorrow. After the completion of this variety release and testing, I will upload the document. Okay. All the 3 lecturers from yesterday, today, and tomorrow's, it will be given in a single PDF. That complete single PDF consists of fully loaded information of all the things under seed legislation for quality control. Okay, so it will hardly take 1 or 2 hours to revise all these things. I believe like this will be of a lot of benefit to you all. Okay, fine. Thanks for attending. We'll meet in the next class.